What's going on YouTube? JT Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're talking about Batman issue number 137. This one's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez. This is the next chapter in the Gotham War. That's right, Batman and Catwoman are at odds, and apparently most of the Bat family is agreeing with Selina Kyle's plan of allowing criminals to continue to steal and be trained to become better criminals, and therefore, cause more crime in the future. I don't know. This is such nonsense from the get-go. The Bat family is terribly mischaracterized. The fact that any of them are considering working with Selina Kyle over Batman on this situation is just absolutely ridiculous. The only reasonable one in this entire comic book is Damian Wayne. Legitimately, Damian is the MVP of this entire comic book, and he was in the last issue. He was the only one making any sort of sense. I'm calling out the nonsense of this thing. This is absolutely atrocious, the way most of the Bat family is written in this particular comic book. The fact that they're going to side with Selina Kyle, who's training criminals to become better criminals, what is Selina Kyle's, end game for all of this? The major villains are off to the side, mind you. She has this apparent statistics that, because, I'm training these people to steal only for rich people. If you let this crime slide, then all this other crime is just not gonna, happen. What's to stop these criminals from, having a taste of that and wanting more and more and more? And, of course, what happened in the last issue, Batman's well, maybe, oh, wait, somebody died as a result of this. This is not good. Focusing on the more violent crime, the Bat family focusing on that as opposed to just thievery, okay, that's cool and all. But then we actually find out in this issue that several members of the Bat family, that being Steph and Tim, actively saw Selina's men, or henchmen or whatever, go in to people's houses and steal stuff and just stood by and let it happen. No, I'm sorry. That's absolute bullshit. That's absolutely ridiculous from start to finish. The fact that any of these members of the Bat family are going along with this nonsense, just absolutely atrocious. So I what is the message of this thing? The comic tries to paint Batman as this unhinged lunatic for simply trying to stop criminals and kick the crap out of them. I'm sorry. That's what Batman does. He beats up criminals who commit crimes. Is he a little bit unhinged with the whole nonsense Zuranaw thing and all the other stuff's going on? Yeah, probably. He's pretty pissed off because his family is siding along with this nonsense, and deservedly so. So I'm totally on Team Batman for this thing. I'm kick the crap out of these criminals, throw their asses in jail, and throw away the key at this point. I don't know. Maybe some criminals don't deserve the absolute worst of punishments, but you know what? It's Batman. I want to see him kick some ass and stop crime. What is the message we're getting across with this comic book? So yeah, he's doing his thing. Jason is totally on Team Selina. He's pretty much a simp for her at this point, after getting his ass handed to him in the last issue, mind you. Red Hood getting the crap beaten out of him by Catwoman. Just I kind of roll my eyes at some of that stuff. Apparently all his years of training were just non-existent. But again, that's what this comic wants to say. But anyways, Batman's really angry, and Tim tries to have a conversation with hey, Bruce, yes, with all the stuff that's going on, maybe you should take it a little bit easy. And he's well, some people need to do their jobs instead of going along with this ridiculous plan. And he's absolutely right. And then at one point, despite Batman apprehending these criminals, he's if I find out you help this guy get away, I'll arrest you myself. Okay, first of all, Batman alerted the cops of the situation. Why would Tim Drake ever help a criminal Batman is doing right here? So, scratch it. Why would Tim Drake free somebody who's about to get arrested for committing a crime? See what I mean? I just don't get it. But then the real nonsense kind of happens here. They're he's out of control. He's trying to stop criminals from committing crimes. Apparently, that's a bad thing. And then, of course, we have Stephanie Brown and Tim saying the dumbest things in this entire comic book. The Selina of it all, I saw one of her guys sneaking into a home tonight, and I did nothing. It feels weird. And then Tim's same Steph, I feel like I'm in a holding pen. I saw Batman tonight arresting one of the thieves. He was so angry at me, at us. No shit, because you're trying to go along, or even contemplating this insane plan of Selina Kyle's. Like I said, Damian's the only reasonable one here. And of course, Jason's yeah, you see, Batman's in the wrong here. Selina's in the right, because this is stopping all the violent crime, apparently, which in hindsight, it's not really going to do jack shit, because all the supervillains are kind of off plotting to do their own terrible things. This is Gotham. We have so many deranged sociopaths taking over the city, left and right. In fact, we also have the Orgam family who comes in and does other things, other assassins and other people trying to take over. Selina's plan makes no sense. It's not going to work in the long term. And plus, what's to stop these people from, stopping at just the little bits of crime? They got the skills training. They got a taste of the high life, and now they're just going to want more and more and more and more. It's going to be an endless cycle. Why not train these people to, do better things? Train them to be, people that help things, then there will be some beneficiary like results like doing so. Like it's just stealing, it's still committing more crimes, and like what's going to train them to kind of like learn like right from wrong and do the better thing? Like what kind of message is this comic book trying to send to the readers who read it? So I don't know, it's a bunch of nonsense. And then of course Jason's there to kind of help Selina, like, okay, I'll let you guys continue to steal and do things, and I'll keep Batman off your trail. And of course Batman like is like onto their whole situation, and Batman's off to stop these criminals, and then Jason Todd comes in to try and fight him, because of course he does. Jason attacking Batman because Batman's trying to stop some criminals is the absolute like most insane thing that happens in this entire comic book. Like this is the catalyst for it. Batman stopping people trying to steal, and Jason Todd coming in and fighting Batman. Like, come on, give me a break, will ya? And then of course during their fights, it's just a bunch of nonsense going on. There's some great looking artwork by Jorge Jimenez, and then of course Tim tries to jump in like, hey, leave him alone, even though Jason was the one who attacked Batman, mind you. And Batman like kicks him and pushes his ass aside, and the rest of the Batman family comes in here. Well, most of the Bat family. You have Duke, you have Steph, you have Cass, and Nightwing. No Oracle right there. He's like, Batman, you need to step back. And then Cass is like, or else. So yeah, apparently the Bat family is like, okay, Batman's out of control, he's stopping criminals, meanwhile we're just letting crime continue to happen. And Batman's able to kind of take down most of the Bat family for the most part. He doesn't really want to hurt them entirely. And then at one point he gets knocked off a building between Jason and Nightwing. Jason goes to like swing a crowbar right at his head, which could severely injure Batman some more. But thankfully, the real hero of this entire comic book, the most rational human being in this entire book, is Damian Wayne, who comes in there and just like fucking like punches him right in the face like he's Trunks and Dragon Ball Z to Hercule. So, which is a cool looking shot right there. Like, boom, look at this. This is, I want to frame this image right here. This to me is like retribution for that Teen Titans run from a few years ago. Remember the one where Jason just beat the hell out of Damian, and Damian had the suicide vest on or whatever, the suicide bomber vest on? Like, that was a bunch of like ridiculous nonsense. But you know what? Good. Kick his ass, Damian, because Jason is clearly not thinking well, or the writers aren't thinking well in terms of writing this thing, which I'm surprised, because Chip Zdarsky wrote a really good Jason Todd story in like Batman Urban Legends. That was fantastic, but like his run on Batman has not been very good, and it's not been great. Like there's been like one or two moments like, okay, that's pretty cool, like Batman literally falls from the moon, like that's so ridiculous, that's kind of funny, but at the same time it's like, what is going on with this comic book right here? And then of course, like I said, Damian kicks his ass a little bit, which is great to see, and then he helps his father out, and he's totally on his dad's side. And the Bat family is like, oh, you know what? Crime is okay and all that. I don't know. Like, maybe they don't say that entirely. But yeah, the fact that they're going along with some of these criminals and like even contemplating being on Selina's side over Batman, mind you, like the guy who took you all in, the guy who trained you, the guy who did all these like things, who saved the city countless times, versus Selina Kyle, who has been an adversary multiple times. You see what I mean? Like, it's just a bunch of nonsense. And then that's pretty much that portion of the issue. Bruce is off there. We do get a funny moment where Damian like checks out like his new like robotic hands, like, oh, that's pretty cool, I kind of want one. He's like, no, you don't, Damian. And then like, of course, since Bruce is living in the city, off doing his thing, he gets a little notice like, hey, your Wayne Manor's been sold. I was like, wait, what? He's been on a commission, mind you, for 2 months, and apparently Wayne Manor gets sold. I don't know who was fully responsible for it. We don't get full details, but I think they leave it as a bit of a distraction, by Vandal Savage of all people. Like, who in the Bat family was like, you know what, let's let Vandal Savage gain access to all this stuff? So also, I have another issue too. Like, why is Jason and all that telling everybody secret identities around these other criminals? Like, well, shouldn't that like come back to bite them in the ass a little bit? Like, we kind of see that like when he's on the phone with members of the Bat family, and he mentions them by name when he's off hanging out with Selina Kyle's like people in her little crime group, if you will. So yeah, the only redeeming quality to this comic book, like, there's 2 bits. Damian punching Jason right in his face, absolute thumbs up, smile for me. That was pretty cool. Batman calling out the nonsense of the Bat family, and Jorge Jimenez's artwork, like, that stuff is great. The story and the characterization of the Bat family that isn't Damian is absolute nonsense. I cannot see fans being happy about this thing. In fact, I've talked to other people who have read this comic book, and they say the same thing as me. Like, this is absolute complete nonsense. Like, none of this makes any sense whatsoever, why these members of the Bat family would even consider siding with Selina Kyle over Batman. You know, if you want to like, okay, let me go back to think of an example of something. If you've ever seen the new Batman Adventures, there was one episode in particular. If it's Batman Unhinged, okay, like we've seen stuff like that before, where he's not well, and then that's the family has to come in to try and stop him. Okay, I've seen that done well. And an example of that is in the episode, the new Batman Adventures. I can't remember the exact episode, but basically what happened is Scarecrow hits people with a fear toxin that takes away somebody's fear. So Batman is actually getting close to crossing the line, and he's a little bit unhinged. Like he's holding back from like his no-kill rule, and Tim Drake has to go in and try to stop him. Like that's an example of the Bat family into conflict with Batman in a way that makes sense. So I like that aspect to it. But also, at the same time, how many times are we going to see this family fighting? I mean, we've seen it so many countless times. We had Batman versus Robin at the start of this year. Like, we've seen them fight so many times. Can they just get on the same page already? Like, why is this the catalyst for the conflict? Selina, like, training criminals to steal only from rich people is apparently, like, that other members of the Bat family are like, oh yeah, sure, continue to commit crimes. Like you're not really like doing anything. Like that's not solving anything, right? You're not training them to like be better people or help others. No, they're still stealing. They're still committing acts of crime, and it's not really solving anything. And just the nonsense that the story tries to paint Batman as the big bad of this whole thing, if you will. Like the way the comic book is written, it's like, oh man, Batman's clearly like not well in the head. He wants to stop criminals from committing crimes. Like I can't get behind this comic book like in any real fashion. Again, aside from the incredible artwork and Damian punching Jason in the face after the way he's written. Like I said, to me, that was a big like, yes, get him, Damian, punch him in his face. And again, I love Jason Todd as a character. Like he's one of my, he's in my top 3 in terms of like the Robins and all that. I mean, Dick and Damian are like 1 and 2. Like Jason's like in that 3rd place spot right there. But like I said, I love Jason Todd. Hell, I've even dressed up as Red Hood on Halloween and gone to conventions and that, like cosplayed him before. Like I love Jason Todd, but I do not like the writing for Jason Todd in this comic book, and I don't like the writing for generally most of the Bat family in this comic book. Again, Damian is the most rational person in this entire comic book, and it's a little bit frustrating that the Bat family is just kind of treated in this manner, even contemplating siding with Selina Kyle. Again, if Jason was the only one and then like the rest of them were kind of like, oh, maybe not, but like just the fact that any of them consider siding with this woman over Batman and like just letting criminals continue to like commit acts of crime is just absolute nonsense. And like, what the hell has happened to superhero comics, man? Like that's apparently like the big grand thing. Like, you remember when superheroes would just stop criminals? Like what is this messaging that we're trying to get across to the readers? I can't fathom it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't right. This is Batman. They're supposed to fight for justice, right? Like, that's not justice. You're still like committing acts of crime, and apparently stopping them is a bad thing. You see what I mean? Like, this is just, it irritates me. So yeah, and again, this is not the best comic book, outside of like one moment where Damian punches him, and the Bat family is written like complete morons, and I can't see this plan working. And again, like, what is the end goal for this whole thing? Is she just going to continue to do it? And then like, what's to stop like the criminals from like taking it to the next level? Now they have this other training, and they're like, be worse threats to find. It's not like she's training them to do good. No, she's training them to commit crimes. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work for me. This Gotham War event, I am excited to see Batman and Catwoman at odds in that regards, because I'm so tired of like the Bat-Cat relationship in terms of modern comics. They've like absolutely like kind of ruined it for me personally, like from like the Tom King like wedding run. But even then, like, this is like way worse in some ways than that, because the rest of the Bat family is kind of going down with them. I don't know what the deal with the Zdarsky and like Teenie Howard storyline is. I just think it's been a major misfire for me. And the fact that like only Damian is the only one on Batman's side, like in this comic book, just it blows my mind. You think at least like Cass would be on his side too, like just having like those 3 on the same side, but no, like, because apparently like Selina Kyle's like whole like, oh, let's train criminals to continue to commit crimes is the right solution. So I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. And yeah, like I said, this is a resounding like, what the hell, like in terms of comic books today. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on this comic book, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, all that other fun stuff. And as always, I will take care now. Bye-bye then. I will see you all in the next video, which may be another DC comic book or something else that I missed last week. So look forward to all that. All right, peace out, everyone.